Hey guys, Moose here with another episode of Minecraft. I am joined by Karen. Yeah,
Hello.
saw you try and move forward there, and also Eric, who is trying to make a grand entrance.
You son of a bitch, you messed me up.
Yeah, definitely trying to
What
psych
the
him out on.
heck?
Yeah, okay.
No.
I need to get in on this as well. Stop moving.
Oh, no.
Okay, she lagged, so I got
You
her.
guys are assholes.
A little bit, yeah.
You stole my thunder.
Yep.
Oh, what the
I've
heck? The dog, like, spawned.
yeah. Were you breeding dogs, Eric? No.
No, I was not.
Okay, so they just teleport for fun. So Eric's
Maybe
been
it's, like, Eric's dog, like, trying to attack me after he punched me.
Oh, that could
I
very
hope it
well be
is.
Oh,
Could you like get it to sit up? Could you unsit it so it'll kill her?
Let's try.
No.
That is not my dog.
It's not mine either. This fucking Karen's dog coming to defend her. All right,
Oh,
let me put it to the sword.
no.
No, if he won't attack me.
I just wanted to see what her reaction would be.
Oh, poor
Yikes.
doggy.
I wouldn't actually kill it. I wouldn't actually kill a dog. How about you try unsitting it and see what happens? And then I'll kill it when it comes for my throat.
No, no.
But yeah, anyway, Eric's been working on his bar here. I showed that off briefly. Still don't really understand the door chairs, but it is what it is.
You need to have an imagination, man. I'm telling you.
That's acid. That's not imagination. You have to be hallucinating to think that looks like a fucking chair.
Aww.
But anyway, we have a interesting topic for today. I'm already sort of forgetting my segue again, but I'll pull through. A little bit more directed than what we had in the past, but I think this will be a good one. So I recently got an email about a rice cooker that I purchased on Amazon, like a long time ago, six or more months ago, I think, and they're saying, oh, we're doing a recall because there's a product, it's not a safety issue, but it's an issue with the product. That's no problem. I don't mind people making mistakes. It's not an issue at all, and I talked about this in a recent Stonehearth video that I can't recall if it's going to go up around the same time as this. I think it is. It might be before or after. I don't remember if it's before or after. That's what it was. So anyway, I talked about it, and basically the issue was that they didn't tell me they wouldn't say what the problem was. I had to email their support and say, hey, what the hell? What's the actual issue? Why are you deliberately obscuring what you fucked up? And, you know, not strictly speaking lying, but definitely obscuring the truth. Definitely kind of banking on the fact that people aren't gonna email them. They're just gonna see it, not know what to do, and forget about it. So, kind of shitty. But it kind of transitions into our actual topic, which is not rice cookers. It's No Man's Sky. Yeah, I know. You guys were really getting pumped up for talking about rice cookers for 30 minutes. But
1 minute for every time the rice cooks.
Yeah, no. Well, no, mine's much more quick than that, actually. That's why I bought it. But anyway, shitty jokes aside, on my part, not on his. Yeah, so we're going to talk about No Man's Sky and whether or not that whole fiasco constitutes not illegal advertising, but kind of, yeah, actually technically illegal advertising, false advertising. And to what degree, who bears responsibility for that, and also if they are guilty of that, in our opinion, what kind of retribution or punishment should there be for that? Because you can easily say without question there were a lot of things that were mentioned in interviews that did not make it to the game at all, and no one said anything prior to release about that, so we'll see. I'm kind of curious what everyone thinks. So Eric, you were clearly wanting to say something there, so I'm gonna let you go for it.
It's the first thing. It just blows my mind that such a huge fiasco has come out of such a small team, and I still don't know the details as far as I know that they both developed and published it, but I have no idea what they went through and how they self-published. But what's the guy's name
It's
The
Sean.
main
It's Sean Murray or something. But did they actually self-publish? What was Sony's role then?
I think they were just distribution.
Huh. Sony seemed like they were really in there, and like I could a lot. Ooh, lava. I feel like a lot of people can and have felt like they can blame Sony and say like, well, so if Sony hadn't pushed them to do blah 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 and like fuck over the PC release by delaying it, you know, a lot of blame has been laid at Sony's feet from what I've read. Not too much, but I mean, obviously more at Hello Games and Sean Murray or whatever his name was for pretty much straight up lying about things. But I don't know. I get Sony hate too, so I was curious what their role was.
Well, and I imagine this is like again, I don't know too much of the context, but I imagine it went down something along the lines of like all these things were in the design document, right? Like these are all things that needed to be done that were cut most likely last minute or close to it to meet the deadline.
You think multiplayer is cut at the last second? That's a pretty fucking big feature. I think if you're not going to hit that, you know pretty quick. There's a lot of functionality that goes into that.
Now, is it confirmed that multiplayer is like straight up not in the game, or is it just the universe is too big?
Yeah, data mining and all that.
Everybody?
There's no multiplayer. There is literally no multiplayer. The only interaction you can have with another player is that you see that they named it a planet something. That's it.
Right. Now, and immediately, I feel like if they can remedy the situation and this game continues to be moderately successful, people will remember kind of a harsh start, but won't actually mind as much, is my theory. But as far as this initial, like, you know, the game coming out and all this stuff not being in the game, when you think about a game that's about like exploring space, right, the final frontier and all that good stuff, and you're told all these amazing things can happen, I can at least completely understand and indeed sympathize with the frustration of the other players, because I haven't played it yet. But
it's not just that, and I did play it with the the whole YouTube series on it, but it's not just that. It's sort of, there are a lot of things that were promised that aren't in the game, and there all kinds of threads talking about that, so I won't get into it too much, but there's just kind of no content. There's no gameplay, really.
Right. The big thing for like the difference between me playing the game and me not is them getting like figuring out trading, because that was supposed to be like in immediately, right?
Eve and X3 do it far. Like, there's trivial, meaningless trading, basically. Like, everything has a price, and then you get random variation, which is typically, plus or minus 5%. And then randomly, each system, as you generate it, has like a major plus or major negative to one thing, basically.
Right.
Or maybe 2 or 3. I only ever saw 1, I think, but
like if you wanted to play the game, going around and just making money, not having to deal with resource. So, you obviously start the game like everybody else, but if your play style is to, pyramid scheme that shit and just be like, okay, listen, I'm going to pay you this to,
buy
give
and
me
sell.
some resources, and then, go out into space and trade with people. Obviously, with the multiplayer being there, that's borderline, like that is impossible.
Well, yeah, and I don't think people even necessarily cared about being able to trade with other players. It's much more just interacting in any way, seeing anything. Like, it wouldn't have taken much to satisfy people on the multiplayer front. But
Right.
there's just fucking nothing. So.
Well, I do have a question. Like, when they were showcasing the whole multiplayer idea, were they saying that, you can actually play with other people? Or
Yes.
were they saying it's multiplayer, but you can only see what they named their planets, or briefly see them?
No,
Kinda
they straight up said you could run into another player. Like on Colbert. Like national TV, like serious national TV, they fucking lied. So,
okay.
like, this isn't just, we got you, there's multiplayer, but it's only that you can see the planet's name. Like, that's a stretch, I'd say.
Was he speaking out? Did he get in trouble? Like, was he speaking out of contract?
I
like
have no
NDA
idea.
or anything like that?
Well, I think he's the guy for he's the advertising guy for the whole thing, right? He was always the guy in interviews and everything, so he's the
I
founder, I think.
know he's the one getting death threats and stuff.
Well, he doesn't deserve death threats, but he deserves perhaps legal threats, I would say. So,
Yeah,
don't know.
and I mean, with Sony doing distribution, as to my understanding, they would definitely not want, because again, once their name's attached to something, they're not going to want someone saying, spreading misinformation about something that they're distributing.
Well, they've already gotten
So-
fucked. They had the limited edition or the collector's edition boxes that went out for PS4, I think. They had they actually said multiplayer on them. But
Right.
Oh,
there was a
right.
sticker covering it that said single player, or covered it up and said not multiplayer or something. One of just like kind of like, all right, well, fuck you guys for real then. And they said they
Right.
didn't admit or acknowledge anything. They just said, oh, it's a printing error.
But see, okay, this is why I feel like it was like a last minute thing, right? Like, because again, with such a small team, how can so much. I gotta put something on the producer, man, Susan or whatever, because these people are going to be communicating through her in theory, right? Everyone's going to be talking to her to get everything done. Like you go through your producer to be like, okay, listen, the artist has this done, the programmer needs to get that done. So now it's crunch time, it's deadlines are being met, we're ready to go. Let's get that cover art figured out, and then out it goes with multiplayer, and then they're like, oh wait, why'd you do that? There wasn't any multiplayer. Someone should have known that before it went out.
Oh, I absolutely agree on that front. I thought you were talking about the interviews, and I was like, well, but this has been. I don't think that could be a last minute. Like taking multiplayer out of the game, I don't think that's a last minute decision. I think they just never had it, and then they were like, well, oops.
I wouldn't say never had it. I would say with a decent amount of certainty that they probably have a build for multiplayer already, still working, trying to figure it out, or at least was trying to figure it out while they were doing it. Have they confirmed that they're adding multiplayer later on?
Not that I've seen.
Jeez. Give me something to work
they're
with.
doing themselves. They are doing themselves no favors, and honestly, they already fucked it. It's over. Like, they didn't get on top of it nearly to the degree that they needed to. Like, the day of the launch, their Twitter was like, hey, people are having technical issues. The game's crashing, not running at all properly. It's like, this is basically playing like a shitty PS4 port to PC.
Ugh.
And a lot of the features made it sure look that way. And then on top of that, basically, they said, hey, here are the technical issues that people are having. Here's the 3 most common solutions. Try these. And then the only other thing that they put up there for like at least a full day, I wasn't looking too far past that, was a photo of them all celebrating in the office saying they'd gone gold. And like, I was resisting the urge to tweet, like, you sure that's going to stick after everyone returns their copy?
Right. Yeah, I feel like they're definitely going to be under some scrutiny, because I would wager to say that to some degree that, well, I mean, I don't know. Even if I were trying to be like conservative, this is definitely false advertising to say that your game has something and then, it doesn't. I'll try to. I've been trying to think of other examples besides like Duke Nukem Forever, which was in development hell.
Anything Peter Molyneux has ever touched.
Right? Yeah.
Like, that's
He's
kind
kind of
of the
the poster child for
prototypical,
this.
yeah, exactly. So, okay, well, you're basic. Okay. For me personally, I 110% agree this is false advertising and they should face legal repercussions, because we all play this game with releases all the time where it's like, hey, here's how it looks at E3, but when you boot it up, it's going to look like it's, half the resolution, it lags, and here it crashes 5 times out of 10.
Right. Wasn't there something like, not in the last E3, but like 1 or 2 before it, where they were trying to run like an Xbox One game, but it came to light that it was actually on PC at E3?
Yeah, but that's a little bit. It's not necessarily the same situation, because say you're developing for an Xbox One, Do you think
Yeah,
you want
you're
to
still
buy a
gonna be-
retail Xbox One, or do you want to build a PC that runs the OS? I think you probably want to
Right.
build a PC that runs the OS.
But by doing that, you still could easily outperform an Xbox One and then show that off at E3. It's a tool, and it
Yeah.
depends on how you use it.
But I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's the game we play with this kind of shit, with marketing for video games, is this always happens to a degree. But the reason there's so much outrage over No Man's Sky is because it took it way further. And it started actually, like, really lying and saying, okay, well, we're going to have this, this, and this, completely missing major features that were kind of game defining in a lot of ways. And just nothing. They're like,
Yeah,
it's not just that they're not really representing the truth, it's that they're doing it to a degree that's not unprecedented, but way worse, I would say.
yeah, it's.
Oh, fuck.
There's so many.
Fuck. Okay, I'm good. Don't worry about it. Nothing happened.
Okay, cool.
Just nearly killed myself with lava. It's okay.
But like oh crap! I think I lost my train of thought. I had something to say about basically how
I can probably get you back to it.
again, how they handled release. But
I-
just give me a
here-
second to
No,
carve out some of the stone, and I'll remember.
Well, real quick, Karen, what do you think? False advertising, yes or no?
Well, I mean, that's why I asked if they said that, like, yes, there's gonna be an actual multiplayer, or like, yes, but like, kind of like subtly say that it's not the kind of multiplayer that people would expect.
No, and
like-
just to
Yeah.
give you a little bit more background, not only did they say there'd be multiplayer, like I explained, but I'd forgotten to mention this. He actually said, yes, you can see other people, but the odds are very low. Like, oh, it's so big you'll never run into each other. So he actually made a direct reference to visibly seeing other players, which is objectively not something that's in the game at all.
Hmm.
And we've
Jeez.
confirmed that through data mining and everything. So, yeah, to answer your question, yeah, same thing I said before, with a little more detail.
Well,
So-
then, like, I think like that's false advertising. Then I was just thinking, because it kind of reminded me of like, this is kind of like not No Man's Sky related, but with 14, right, when they were working on 2.0, they were mentioning a bunch of ideas that people posted on Reddit. I mean, not recently, but like a couple of months ago, and they were saying, oh, these were the ideas that they were saying that they were going to add, but they never ended up like adding anyway. So
I'd
like,
say
I'm not
that's,
sure if it's
and
kind of like similar.
it is similar, I would say, and I'd say that's why Hello Games needs to face legal action. Because there
Yeah.
needs to be repercussions for this kind of shit. But to briefly play devil's advocate here, so I read up on what the actual law in the US anyway says, and this is a British company, so I think it still applies in the US because some of it took place in the US, and they are selling in the US
I didn't know
market.
they're Brit.
Yeah, they're British. So basically, the way the law was written, it looks like if it doesn't cause physical harm, then you need to prove intent to mislead. Which basically takes it way further, and now we're asking a little bit of a different question than you maybe thought in the first place. Do you think that they deliberately misled people about the nature of their game? And that's kind of a much bigger question that maybe is applicable to game development at large, because there are situations where you cut features that are reasonable. We don't know if this was one of them, but what do you guys think?
Immediately, I feel like if they did try to deliberately throw people off, they did it in one of the stupidest way possible, because it just, like, if you're going to deliberately try to lie to someone, the point is to make sure they don't figure it out, right? But if
Well, not necessarily. If they don't figure it out before the release and you make bank off of it, which by all measures it seems like they did, that's
Right.
success, isn't it? From their
So
perspective.
I guess yeah. Especially if they have the audacity to dance around about their gold stuff when
Yeah, that was pretty fucked up.
So I mean, it's a possibility, but I would still wager that at least to some degree, anything that they did talk about, they've obviously wanted to implement because I
Well,
mean,
wanted but reasonably thought that they could or would.
I feel like it would make sense that maybe like because this game's huge, right? And this kind of goes back to I remembered what I wanted to say. This is one of the first like breakout major like space games that I can recall. Like what was the last time we had a really good space related game besides like Eve? Like something accessible that everyone wants to play, right? I can't.
Well, not everyone wants to play them. That's kind of
Yeah.
where it gets in there. I don't
But
know.
I mean,
I don't think
for
they're ever. I don't think Eve even qualifies for the standard you're setting here.
but I mean, like, okay, so you
Well,
think
okay.
about a genre, like, or even when you're putting a theme, like Assassin's Creed Black Flag, everyone's like, it's the worst Assassin's Creed, but it's the best pirate game. But you know, that's because we haven't had a decent pirate game come out in a while,
Well,
like Sid Meier's Pirates, right? Like,
that's an
so when you think
incredibly
about,
narrowly defined genre. So of
but I
course you're
know,
not
but
gonna.
now apply this to like a space exploration game, I don't play them many. So the last one
Well,
I played was probably Spore, to be
well,
honest.
to tell you why, that's because there aren't that many.
Right, that's my point. So they come out with this awesome like space game, and all the Trekkies and Star Wars fans and people who just like NASA are like, "Holy crap, this is awesome! There's going to
Oh,
be flying stuff, and there's going to
Kerbal,
be interaction."
Kerbal Space Program.
Oh
You
hell
made
yeah,
me
Kerbal
forget.
Space
Yeah,
Program.
what you were saying made me. I just want to briefly mention that you used accessible and Eve Online in the same sentence, which is a little bit.
Eve in that context was meant to be the antithesis, like not Eve,
Yeah.
something
Okay.
accessible.
Not okay. Good. I just want to make sure that's what you were going for, because Eve being accessible is laughable. I like it. Just to be clear, I'm a fan, but it's not in any way accessible.
No,
Anyway,
you got
but
to
yeah,
pour hours into that,
fucking
like
Kerbal Space
days.
Program, man. Should go back and
Yeah,
play that.
but I feel like that game's more focused. The mechanics are more focused on engineering rather
Oh,
than
it
space travel.
unquestionably is, but it's as close as you're gonna get to what you're defining. You know?
Right. Up until No Man's Sky, in theory, right? Like,
Yeah.
there was actually one game. Oh, what was it? I think I saw it on the Co-optional podcast with Total Biscuit. Um, something Bridge Simulator. It's like it.
I think it
I'll
might
have to
just
look
be
it up.
Polybridge.
No. It's definitely something Bridge Simulator. It's on Steam, and it's basically an unofficial Star Trek Bridge Simulator game that
What start? What?
seems to be.
Oh,
Is that
yeah. I know
the
the one you're
VR
talking
one?
about. Node played it. No. It's basically you get however many people. I think there's a number of different roles, and like each person has a different interface, and then there's a captain that's supposed to tell everyone what to do, and then the people do this stuff, and you go fight or whatever. Right?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's definitely it has to be. There is no single player. It's multiplayer, and it's I think pretty sure it's designed to be mostly local multiplayer for
Yep.
full effect.
Yep. It looks cool, but it seems like a massive pain in the dick to actually play.
Right. It's definitely more. That's kind of a stretch of a comparison, but I'd compare that like to Milsim with Airsoft, right?
Yeah.
I don't know how much you've played Airsoft, but like Milsim is taking it up a notch.
Yeah. I've never actually played, but I do have a few guns.
Good stuff.
Yeah, I think we talked about this before, right? Obviously not on
yeah.
YouTube, but yeah, forgot about
Yeah,
that.
I think we've mentioned Airsoft once or twice.
Yep.
But as far as No Man's Sky goes,
Okay.
I don't remember because I don't follow space stuff nearly as much. But like how big was the build up to this? When was it first like hinted, and when were people started?
It might have been a Kickstarter
hyped?
thing. It was like 4 years in development. People knew about it and were pumped for it. It was super overhyped, obviously, and that's part of the issue. But we're getting slightly off topic. But I just wanted to mention I thought of 2 other games that kind of fit the category, or 2? Yes, 2: Elite Dangerous and Star Citizen. So
Oh, and isn't Starbound's 2D
Nah, I
But
wouldn't.
it's
Don't. Starbound doesn't count.
okay.
Starbound is like kind of like not even as closely related as Terraria and Minecraft. And I think those are two extremely different games as well. But anyway,
But
sorry. Go ahead. Finish
no,
finish your point though. I want to get back to false advertising.
yeah, the ultimate point is that with all this false advertising and the fact that it's such a like a high profile game that people were waiting for, because like how many my point being how many other games could fill this niche, so how like so many people being excited, and then being great with this is like opening up a Nintendo 64 for Christmas, opening the box and there's a big pile of shit.
Yeah, pretty much. That is kind of the feeling. But it's not because you don't know it's a shit until you've been playing. Like you play it for a little bit and you're kind of like, oh, okay, well, oh, all right, well, that's how that works. That's a little disappointing, and then slowly it dawns over you that this is not what you wanted. This is not what you were sold on. This is not what you were hoping to play. And then it's like, oh, okay, well, I got actually kind of nothing that I was looking for here. And I enjoyed it a little bit for a while, but the more you realize, it kind of ruins the experience personally, but the more you realize that it's just the shell of what it should have been. But anyway, back to kind of the false advertising thing. So we talked about, actually, Karen, you didn't say much about intent. What do you think? Do you think they did it deliberately to sell more units, or do you think it was more complex than that?
Well, I guess they tried to hide it because they're afraid of like the backlash. But it's actually interesting that you you asked for my opinion, because I was gonna say like, because RR mentioned earlier that like those ideas that they were talking about before, like they seem like they were gonna implement it at one point, but they didn't. But like what I was gonna say was they could have been more transparent about it,
Yeah.
like they could have said like, oh, we weren't able to implement this, but like maybe in the future when we figure out how to make it work, then we're gonna add it. Because like, when you say that, it seems more hopeful rather than, oh, like you guys lied to us and blah 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 blah.
Yeah, I agree completely. I would have much less of an issue with it if they hadn't hidden it. If they'd come out and said, hey, multiplayer's out for this, this, and this reason. That
Because
would have
I
been
know
fine.
with Stardew Valley, right? Like originally the guy was trying to sell it as a multiplayer Harvest Moon game,
No, but he's adding multiplayer, though.
Yeah, I know, but
Like, he's
like
actually doing it.
no,
It's
the
a
thing
funny part.
was like he wasn't gonna release it until like multiplayer is in it, because like he couldn't figure out how to make it work yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, he ended up releasing the single player mode for now and said, oh, like the multiplayer is still gonna happen, but I'm just still trying to figure out how to make it work.
Yep.
Well, and isn't that game still technically in pre-release?
Yeah, I think so. That's the other. Also, it's not $60 fucking dollars,
Yeah.
which is a whole nother issue. But
Yeah,
yeah, he never. The
that's
Stardew Valley guy never lied. He never misled anyone. He's just kind of like, all right, well, I know I said I'd have this feature, but I can't make it work. So here's the game as it is, and I'll keep working on it. Which would have been fine in this situation, but they would have not gotten anywhere near the sales they did.
yeah.
So, sorry, go ahead.
$60 is really expensive for that game. At least
Yeah.
from like I've never played it, and
You're not
like
missing anything.
from what I saw from Anna's trailer, it seems very copy pasta in a
Yeah,
lot of
well,
things.
it's more there. You can do procedural generation without understanding how to do procedural generation correctly, and they did procedural generation without understanding how to do procedural generation correctly. Dwarf Fortress is the right example of how to do procedural generation, because there's actual variety, and certain things stay the same, but enough substance changes that you're getting a unique environment every time you do it. So
I understand that you love Dwarf Fortress, but it baffles me that you didn't use Minecraft as an example for procedural generation.
Minecraft isn't as good at doing procedural correctly. It does procedural exactly the way it needs to, but from a perspective of something on the scale of No Man's Sky, it's not comparable. That would be
Of
my
course.
defense of my decision there.
Well, and that's wasn't one of the features that they wanted to implement was something about like, orbits
Yes.
and nearby planets contributing to how those planets developed.
Yes, which is
Right.
total horseshit. The only way that you could claim that that's in the game is that not only is the procedural generation pretty stale and uninteresting, but oh, hey, look, these planets are adjacent to each other, and this plant is on both of them. Whoa.
Right.
Yeah.
It's plants that have spaceships so they can cross-pollinate to other planets. It's no hint of convergent evolution being a thing that would make sense in that situation. It's just, yeah, well, I guess some trader tracked in some seeds when he was going to the other planet, so, I guess it happened. It's just kind of bullshit.
That bothered me.
Yeah, it's stupid. But anyway, what do you think about punishment? So we feel it's false advertising, but legally, what do you think should happen?
Oof. I'm an aspiring developer, not a lawyer. So, well, give me a second to think about that, but I'm sure I'll come up with something.
All right, Karen, you got anything off the top of your head?
I can't really say anything. Like, for one, I honestly do feel bad for them because, like, it's literally like a make or break kind of thing, and they they chose the broke part because, like, how can they like get back up after this kind of like backlash?
Well, but why do you feel sorry for them in this situation? I mean, you
Well,
read the same quote we all did, which was the whole like, oh, we had to change the way the periodic table worked to get the sky to be green. Just total fucking like at no point in the development was that something that was true. There's no fucking way.
They're
That would have
doing
never-
the Kickstarter pitch.
So, well, no, the way of correctly saying that is they're lying. Like that's it's bullshit. No fucking PS4 could ever run that.
Well, I mean, like, I just, yes, they're kind of horrible for doing that. Well, not kind of, they are. But I was just thinking because they're pretty much like a new kind of like group or team, right? And this is kind of like their biggest game.
Don't
So
they deserve that failure though?
Well, I mean, like, how can people trust them to make a good game after, like, like what they promised
Well,
in
no, I
their
know,
first
but
game?
that's not what I mean. I mean, you feel bad for them. Why do you feel bad for them? Don't they deserve that failure, given what they chose to do?
Oh, well, I think they do, but at the same time, I just feel bad.
All right, you shouldn't feel bad.
Uh,
It sounded like you'd kind of come to a conclusion on that.
Something she had said actually kind of rang true. The fact, and again, I really do need to do some proper research because all of this is pretty much just from my observations from what the links you sent me and what you've told me so far. But if No Man's Sky is distributed by Sony, right, they would probably be the target for punishment because they've got the most money. Like anyone's like, you can't expect, what is it? Happy Smile Games. What's their name?
Hello Games. You can't. Okay, there you go.
Yeah, sorry. No, I had to click something and
Okay, that's cool.
that for whatever reason cuts me off. But ultimately, I feel like if I'm trying to draw examples, right, from other games, but the fact that this may be bleak tidings for like future big distributor, like, because this is essentially an indie game that got marketed like a AAA game.
Yeah.
Would you say
but
that's a fair
that's
assessment?
kind of why I blame Sony for some stuff. But I don't necessarily agree that they should be the target for legal action, because I don't think the goal should be making money. As stupid as that may sound, it's more about sending a message. But I'll get to that when you're done making your point.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing is, most of the flack is coming from the PC group, right?
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure
universal?
PS4 players are pretty disappointed in the content. I would be very surprised if they weren't. Let me put it that way.
Now that I look at it, it seems a company I've never heard of, I Am 8-Bit, is actually distributing for PlayStation, or no, for PC. Sony's only doing it for the PS4. So
Okay.
that's why it got so big, is because they wanted like this. We've got a PS4 quote unquote exclusive. Like, I guess
Yeah,
it's,
well, it wasn't.
you
It
know.
was supposed to be released on the same day, and then they fucked over the PC release by delaying it pointlessly. It was really shitty. They haven't said why they did it. They just said, "Oh, we had to keep our mouth shut about it." And it was like, "Okay, well, Sony bought you. That's what happened. Sony paid for you to be their bitch. That's that's what this was. It's just insulting as hell as a PC player." So anyway,
Yeah. I'm really trying to figure out some more information here, because as far like I think what they'll get is probably punishment enough. Now that I think about it, I don't think Hello Games is going to be around much longer after this, unless they pull out some miracle.
no, they're not gonna. And I agree, they're not gonna be around. The only way they stay is if Sony bails them out. And I don't see that happening. So
No, of course not. Sony's probably shooting themselves, like hanging themselves because of what just happened.
not necessarily. I mean, they got their payday probably. Yeah, I mean it's a PR issue,
right.
but Sony doesn't give a fuck. It's not their name on it. No one like. There's not that many people pissed at Sony in this situation. It's mostly about Hello Games, in my opinion. So.
Oh, and they're from Guildford? Or is it Guildford? No
no
kidding. That sucks. Okay, so I actually happen to know. Damn it. That is not a good way to represent. Let me make sure that's the right place and I'm not getting mixed up. But there's, as a quick aside, a fun did you know, there's a super kick-ass guitar store in Guildford.
Okay.
And
It's really fucking bizarre that you know that.
They have a YouTube channel, and
Okay.
they say their name a lot. So that's one of my, like, if I ever go to England, I'm going there. So while I'm there, I'll go piss on the Hello Games building.
Fair enough. All right. Well, while you look that up,
That's their punishment.
they deserve worse than that. Personally, from my perspective, I think if you don't come down hard on this, you're opening the door for all kinds of other bullshit, and you're just saying, all right, well, feel free to lie because we're not going to do anything about it. So this isn't really about them anymore. It's about consumer protection and taking care of this kind of situation. And I think if you don't come down and say you are legally obligated to offer refunds for anyone who wants them, or something like that, or some kind of fine, anything, something significant.
Right.
You send a message, you say this shit's not acceptable, you are not allowed to act this way, and perform this, and like put out a product that is objectively not what you said it would be, then people are just going to keep doing it. There's no reason not to.
Yeah.
It clearly worked for this game, so why not keep doing it, right?
No, I see. I don't think that's going to be the case.
I don't think they're going to do it. I just think that's what they need to do.
Well, because when you think about it, what's the normal way to, like, if something goes wrong with a big release, someone can usually, like, oh, here's a coupon for your next purchase through this, right? Or,
yeah,
like,
but that's
Hello Games doesn't have anything to offer.
Yeah,
for one.
exactly.
So the only thing I can imagine, I mean, they're really, honestly, it's probably just going to die quietly and have a small but passionate group of people who still, for whatever reason, really love it. Unless they fix everything.
That's not possible. There's too much fucked.
Unless, of course, Yoshi P wants to take it over and make No Man's Sky a Realm Reborn.
Well, that's a whole nother topic that we're going to get into another time, but I maintain that he fucked up. He brought 14 back from the dead, but only for it to die maybe a couple years down the line. Personal opinion. And we'll get into that more. That's a whole nother can of worms. I don't want to open that up. I don't think it has a staying power. I've talked about that in a couple of my videos, but for another time.
Right.
But that'd be a relaunch and a whole big fucking thing, and that's an MMO versus a single player exploration game. I just don't see that working.
Right. I honestly don't know what they do, because they can't just send out checks. I mean, their games might be starting it, like, if their games get pulled from shelves, that's pretty much a nail in the coffin.
Well, it's not getting pulled from shelves, but it sure as hell isn't coming off them through sales either. So
Right,
they're
but I
having
feel
some
like
issues.
having the company. Would you say that having the company shut down and the game pulled from shelves would be too harsh of a punishment for something like this?
No, but I want payback. It's not good enough for them just to die. They need to die and be like, you did something unacceptable. And because here's the thing, they can do this, right? And it's okay, whatever. They die, no big. Everyone just ignore it. Go on with your life. It's fine. What happens when Sony decides to start doing this themselves? What happens if Square does it? What happens if EA does it?
I don't think that's going to happen.
They're not going to fail.
Well, they're not going because for one, this is a good wake-up call to begin with. This game will now, that's something to look out for now, unfortunately.
Well,
so I don't feel like AAA studios will try it because they have a lot more to risk. Though,
I guess.
As a AAA studio, you're better off just rehashing the same shit that's making money rather than to try something new and also lie.
I mean, Peter Molyneux's still employed, isn't he? Isn't that kind of the true test of whether or not we're right about this? I mean, I kind of feel like...
I don't think he's conventionally still employed. I'm pretty sure he hasn't... what's the last thing he did?
I think he's still working on Goddess. As fucked up as that is, I think he's still actually working on Goddess. Which is... I have that game. I didn't kickstart it or whatever, but it's real bad. I mean, well, okay, it's passable as a $2 indie title or something, but it was built up to be this crazy shit, and it's just, no, come on, dude. You for real?
It came out in 2013?
I guess, probably. I don't know. I haven't touched it in a very long time. I didn't even know what when I picked it up, it was just because it was okay, whatever, this is on sale. But then I, started reading about it, and it was holy shit, there's so, why... it was hard for me to understand how so much happened over such a tiny, stupid game. Because it's kind of nothing. It's a boring indie title, basically. But apparently it was built up to be a huge fucking ordeal, and I don't know. It's very strange. But,
it seems...
Sorry, go ahead.
Unfortunately, I guess he is still around as a designer, and his next game is going to be Goddess Wars.
Yep. That's what I was thinking.
Yay, a sequel to the mobile game that got mixed.
I don't think it was it wasn't a mobile game, I don't think. I think it was Goddess was a PC game. It just looks like a shitty mobile game. Which kind of makes it so much worse, doesn't it?
On here, we got Windows, OS X, iOS, and Android, so...
Okay. I think the iOS and Android might have been a smaller version of the same thing. Anyway, we're gonna have to call this episode here 20 minutes later than we should have, but it's an interesting discussion. I think there isn't necessarily a right or a wrong answer. I definitely feel like there should be serious financial repercussions for those who were involved. Even personal I know this is very slippery ground, but killing the company may not be enough. I don't want any of those guys who were culpable in any way to be employed in the game design industry anymore. There's too much of this shit going around. The ones that are actually
out of it.
No. That's why I said culpable. That's why I said culpable. The ones who willfully misled people, and that's Sean Murray, other people. I'm sure he's not the only one. But those guys, they have no business being in this industry. So, I don't know.
I do have one question for maybe the viewers to think about, but I wonder how the development team feels about the head whose name I already forgot again.
Sean Murray.
Yeah.
I'd be fucking livid if I was working on that game and he just wrecked it. I'd be the whole time, but I would have been livid 2 years before it came out when he was telling lies.
Right. Yeah.
That's nothing new at this point for them.
But, I mean, what if he never communicated that and he just said that on Colbert and then the programmer's sitting there watching Colbert what the fuck? What? I didn't even know that was a thing.
Well, I wouldn't want to work for him, to be blunt. Oof. But anyway, we're going to call it there. Thanks for watching, guys. Sorry it went so long. I hope you enjoyed it. hopefully it was some good discussion there. I know this is a popular topic, but we're not going to, most of our other topics are probably going to go back to the other stuff, which is kind of basically shooting the shit. This is a little bit more serious and topical, so anyway, thanks for watching, and see you in the next one. Take care.
Bye.